How are you guys doing? Okay, I think in my previous vlog I talked about bead embroidery. So I thought today I'll probably vlog and also, let you guys know what I'm really doing these days. So yeah, actually I have my, or I should say I was doing, my own business at home. I do makeup consultation and I teach personal grooming and stuff like that at the comfort of my home. I have a home studio slash office where I kind of work on with clients. So now after the pregnancy, and I was traveling quite a bit, so I kind of like wind it down. So I have a lot of time now where I concentrate on doing a bit more of my hobby and trying to enjoy being pregnant, because this could possibly be, maybe once in my life. I mean, you'll never know, of course I would love to have more children, but you never know what life throws at you, or how things goes. So bead embroidery, I don't know how I got this sudden inspiration to start bead embroidery. Actually, I didn't do it before, because seed beads, for me, those tiny beads like this, just kind of freaks me out, because I feel like it's just too small to work with, and I prefer using Swarovski crystals instead, those bicons and stuff like that, which are slightly larger. And so I just kind of like didn't really get into it. But I think I was browsing the net and I found a video where this lady was doing bead embroidery, and it really looked nice. And then when I did more research, I was like, wow, okay, this is what I've been wanting to do, because I'm an aspiring fashion designer. I love clothes, and my design aesthetic is very, very different from many people. I'm not like this avant-garde kind of designer or anything like that. I go for simple, classy looks, yet they have to look expensive, and a lot of handwork should be in it. And that's what I look at. Even you may have seen my love for fashion accessories also. I usually tend to go for things that are not your usual type of earrings, or usual type of necklaces and rings. I have a different taste sense. And so this bead embroidery, when it came in, I was like, wow, I could finally put things together, and see that this is going to be an extra addition to my cloth design, or even perhaps for all maybe someday I might have my own line of jewelry as well, since I love accessories. So yeah, so while I was browsing the net, I came across this lady and she was doing the bead embroidery, and I got all inspired. And then I started to research more, and I started finding out how I could do it myself. So from what I understand, bead embroidery, maybe I'll show you some examples of what earrings. I believe the first one was actually this one. This is a sandstone. I've had it in my stash for like maybe the past 10 years or so. Sandstone, and then followed by seed beads around. This is very basic. And then at the back, I'm not sure what I used for the back. I'm not sure if it's ultra suede or what kind of fabric. It's mocha actually, but that's what they call it here in Sweden. Ultra suede is like, I think a different alternative to leather fabric. Leather, leather like cow leather. So ultra suede is slightly thinner than leather. So, and also it's a little bit more inexpensive compared to real leather. And here in Sweden, everything is expensive. So I mean, since I was getting into it, I didn't want to invest a lot of money into buying expensive material. So I tried to go for cheaper alternatives. And so as I said, I tried to go to the fabric store, and when I told them excuse me, when I told them that I wanted ultra suede, they didn't understand, because there's a different term in Sweden, I think they call. So what I tried to explain to them, you know, the kind of fabric that you have on shoes, because some shoes are also kind of made of ultra suede, very thin, leathery kind of fabric. So I found ultra suede and I've been using that. However, I would say that it's really not a good fabric to start off with, because you have fibers coming out, and if you don't know how to cut, or if you leave it too long, you can start seeing fraying, and that is what you don't want when you have done your, you know, bead embroidery work, because you don't want tiny fabric or thread coming out. So you know, with practice you learn. And my next project was another pair of earring, of course. It's just white with white beads, seed bead, and this centerpiece actually is from Bali. You know, whichever country I travel to, I try to buy back something that reminds me of the country. It can be seashells, it can be beads. Mostly I go for jewelry finding, beads and fabric. So, you know, every time I do something, you know, I kind of get reminded of my travels as well. So this one is from Bali. Very pretty engraving, you know, they have this like ethnic design. So I try to make something ethnic as well. So for this project, the backing was actually using felt, you know, craft felt. So I'm not sure if I really like it, but it was definitely something very inexpensive. Felt, you can get it from most craft store. I got my felt actually in Singapore. It was only $2 for like, I think maybe half a meter, quite a large piece. So you have like lots, you can do lots of projects actually with felt. So I had that, and since I was practicing, you know, it was a very good way to, a good material to start off with. But I don't think it's professional looking, and I always strive for trying to make it, you know, perfect, neat. You know, this mind of mine, you know, I have this I'm a bit anal when it comes to stuff like this. So the next few projects that I did was this one. This one really took a lot of time. This is polymer clay, which I made a scarab, and then you know, a round flat cabochon, and then I did a sketch of I was very much inspired by the Egyptian art, of course, as you can see. So this one took a lot of work. However, I have some faults in it, so that's why I didn't finish it. And for this piece of embroidery work, I used interfacing, a thick interfacing. So moving on, this is another project which I've worn in my makeup tutorial. So if you have missed it out, go to my makeup channel, you will see. It's actually this light blue necklace. So it's light blue, and these big black beads are actually volcano beads, and also I bought them when I was in Indonesia. So yeah, it brings back good memories. These were the dating days for me and my, no, actually it was our honeymoon. Oops, sorry, we spent our honeymoon in Indonesia, in Bali. So that's when I bought these volcanic beads, and seed beads actually from Sweden. So I did bead them like that. You know, you must always have a design, and sometimes an idea can just pop up anywhere. For me, my ideas just come around, you know, sometimes when I'm in the bathroom, or when I'm cooking, or when I'm, you know, doing makeup, or even when I'm just sitting down looking blankly at the wall, I get ideas. And the best way to preserve your ideas is to actually draw it down. Just a rough sketch will do, because you can always come back and try to remember, and maybe for all you know, you might be inspired to do even better than the original sketch. So that's what I did with this, and I like it, you know, with the tassels and all. And many of you guys actually complimented that the necklace really looked very nice. And the backing, okay, the backing for this, as I said, I'm actually exploring with using newer fabrics and trying to see if I can save money in a way instead of buying ultra sweet, because it can be quite expensive. So this one is actually fake or faux leather. The other project that I was working with, which took me like maybe 3 days of maybe 5 hours each, is this one. I love this piece, but the problem is I tried using a different method of beading it on. So as you can see, this is a embroidery hook or loop, and what I did was that for the backing, because you have to have something that has some stiffness, and this mocha fabric, as you can see, this was what I was talking about. It frays like crazy, and it really ruins your work, because you will need to cut it as close to the bead so that you can finish the work off. So since I've done so much work now, I'm so afraid to actually cut. So anyway, what I did for the backing was that I ironed on a black interfacing, which wasn't that very stiff but adds a little bit of grip, so that's what I've done. But I can tell that this is going to be a bit of a disaster with all the work that I have put in, but never mind, you always learn, right? So as you can see, this bead is actually a glass bead. I got it in Singapore, and these seed beads are actually from Sweden. So it's kind of a pretty piece, I really enjoy using this kind of exotic jewelry in my dressing, because I don't like those fancy loud prints. That's not how I like to style when I get dressed. That is not my style. I like simple, solid colors, but then I like to concentrate on accessories like bangles, earrings, shoes, handbags instead. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm really into stuff like this, because this represents me in a way, how I feel at the moment, my creativity. So at that time, when I designed or when I put this together, I was thinking about I don't know, I was just thinking about the sea, and then fire, and then yellow. I don't know why I put in yellow. I think yellow was because I needed some contrast, because if it's just this teal and red, from what you can see, it's not really teal actually, it's a blue, but a different, like aqua blue bead, and then followed by red, orangey, fiery red beads, and then I had this like rhinestones also. So I just felt like you needed a pop of color, a contrasting color. Now, talking about color, sometimes you are at a loss at what type of colors to use, So it's good to buy a color wheel where it shows diagrams, of what complements what. You don't have the finances to buy a color wheel, go to the internet, you can always click in color wheel, and then it will show you what are the complementary colors, how you can mix and make sure that to the eyes it looks nice. If you don't want to go through that, just look outside your window, sometimes you can just get ideas from things around you, nature is a beautiful way to get, looking at nature is a beautiful way to get inspired, especially flowers, birds, animals, the chameleon. Who would have thought a green and red would go together? But chameleons look great. I mean, they use it to their defense, and it has a beauty to it too. So this is how I get inspired. So yeah, this piece just came along, pieces by pieces by pieces. First I started off here, and then slowly I build on. Then I decided, okay, I'm going to finish this off. This is going to be the piece. I think most probably, if I can't finish this work, I'm probably going to sew it on to one of my, future dress projects, maybe something like a centerpiece and maybe a butterfly kind of sleeve, perhaps, so it looks expensive yet something nice, something different.